What's up, everybody? Josh Jacobs here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome back to another episode. I just wanted to make this video off the cuff right now because I'm sitting here reflecting on the times in my life where I have shifted my mindset from ultra negative to ultra positive. I've gone through multiple different time periods in my life where I was super happy or super depressed, and it's been a roller coaster for the last, basically since I was a teenager. And I've thought about the times in my life where I had to get out of a negative mindset where every single day was depression. And I suffered with depression as a teenager for years, and then kind of got out of it. And then it happened again in my mid 20s. And when I say depression, I mean I was fucking depressed. Like, I woke up every single morning with just thinking negative thoughts, constantly worrying about the future, constantly just questioning everything, not knowing what I want to do in my life, just having no clarity, constantly worrying, anxiety, just being sad. Like, I've gone through periods where I hate talking about this, but like where I've literally woken up and just cried days in a row. And it's the worst fucking feeling in the world, because when you're in it, you're like, how do I get out of this? Because the negative thoughts just build off of each other, and it's like a downward spiral, right? Because when you're having those negative thoughts, you don't want to have them, but you don't know how to stop having them, because you keep telling yourself and convincing yourself that, well, negative shit just happens to me. Bad shit just happens to me. Of course that happened to me. I have bad luck. You keep telling yourself the same thing over and over again, and it just feeds the negativity loop. And what I've really realized about these periods in my life where I've had to switch from negative to positive is that I've literally had to force myself to be in a positive mindset. I'll give you a couple examples of different times in my life where I've made this switch. The first being when I was a teenager. I was on drugs. I was very depressed. I was suicidal. It was a bad time for me as a teenager, but I was removed from my environment forcibly and taken to a wilderness camp. I'll do another video on this later, but this was when I was 15 years old, and I was put in an environment where I was given nothing but a tent. Actually, I didn't even get a tent. It was a 6-foot by 8-foot tarp. No phone. I didn't know the time of day. I didn't know the day of week. I didn't know anything for 9 weeks straight. And I wasn't able to talk to my parents. I didn't know anything. I was just in a group of about 10 kids that were similar to me, with a couple counselors, hiking through the wilderness 5 to 8 miles a day with 70-pound bags on our backs. And it was just a fully immersive experience where I had nothing from my previous life with me. And I was forced to kind of conform to this, nature grounded, like therapeutic retreat type mindset almost, where everything that I thought about in my normal daily life, I didn't think about anymore, because I was in the woods with a group of people just focusing on making a fire out of 2 sticks so that we could eat warm hydrated beans and rice instead of cold hydrated beans and rice. If you didn't make fire with bow drilling because you couldn't use a lighter, if you couldn't make fire, you couldn't eat warm hydrated food. You had to eat it cold. So there were just different things in that environment where it completely eliminated my negative mindset. But let me be clear, I was on a food strike when I first got there. They took me to the hospital and gave me IVs. I was not about it for the first week to 2 weeks. I still was in that negative mindset. But after being in the environment habitually for a couple weeks, I started to change. And by the time I got out of that, I loved it, and I look back at that experience as one of the best experiences in my entire life. That's one example of when I was just forcibly put into a scenario where I had to shift to thinking positively, because that was just the nature of the environment I was in. Now, it's a little bit different as you get older, because, for example, when I was in my 20s and I went through a similar depression as I did in my teens, except it was even worse because I was in my 20s and I thought, fuck, I thought I was over this. Like, I'm in my 20s now. Why do I still feel like I did when I was a kid? And it was a terrible, terrible feeling. But what I realized is that I had to do the same type of thing, even though I couldn't forcibly, or even though I wasn't forcibly removed from my environment and put into the middle of the woods, what I did was I changed my daily environment. So my daily environment went from, working, eating like shit all day, doing basically nothing but work and have TV on in the background. And just, I was watching South Park basically in the background all the time. Whereas I changed that to putting on podcasts in the background, positive podcasts. I started reading. I started working out. I didn't want to do any of this shit, but it got to a point where I didn't want to be depressed more than I didn't want to do this other shit. And I figured, it's like the famous saying, I don't know who says it, maybe Tony Robbins, but like the pain of changing becomes less bad than the pain of staying the same, or the pain of not changing becomes worse than the pain of actually making the change. And that was the mindset that I got in, whereas I just didn't want to be depressed anymore. And even though I didn't want to do all this other shit and I had absolutely no interest in it, I just kind of got the bug in my ear, like, maybe this will actually work, so it's worth a shot. And that was just how it started. It was that little inclination. And what I started doing was listening to podcasts every day. I started reading 10 pages every day. I started working out. I started eating healthy. I forced myself to do all these things. And within 30 days, I literally felt like a different person. Within 90 days, I was a different fucking person. And after a year, I was a totally different fucking person. And I still go through phases now where I go in and out of those depression phases, because you're never going to wake up every single day and feel great, especially when you live in a gloomy city like this in Chicago. But what I know now is that I have the complete control and ability to change my mind state. And I don't need drugs. I don't need medicine. I don't need anything like that to do it. Maybe some people do. I used to be on all sorts of medication, but what I know now is that as long as I force myself to do healthy activities and put myself in the right mindset by feeding that positivity loop constantly, like I was saying, I used to feed the negativity loop, I will come out of that funk. I will snap out of that funk, and I will be fulfilled or happy, or whatever word, content, whatever word you want to say again. And I just wanted to make this video because it's amazing to me how you could be in the same spot in life, and one person can be, you could have $1 billion, a great wife and kids and family, and everybody's healthy. And you could have two people like that. One of them could be absolutely miserable because of the way that they choose to view their life. And one of them could be the happiest person in the world because they choose to be grateful every day. And that was a huge realization for me, that like, it's actually a choice, right? Being happy is a choice, because I could look at billions of people around the world. I could complain about my situation, and I could give myself all the excuses in the world as to why I deserve to be depressed, or why I am upset, or why I'm not achieving what I want to be achieving. But when I truly look at my life and the things that I'm grateful for in my life, and I actually do that every single day intentionally, after a few weeks of doing that, or even a couple days of doing that, your mood just instantly, naturally gets better and it improves, because you start to realize, you start to change that loop of all the things that you appreciate in your life versus all the things that you want in your life. That was a major, major change for me. And one of the best ways to do that, by the way, is, I hate to say this, but it's true, is watching podcasts or motivational speeches or something like that from people who have much worse circumstances than you, and they have made their life into something incredible. One of the examples of this is I love watching podcasts or speeches, for example, from like I got Nick Santo. I forgot how to pronounce his last name, but he was born with a rare condition. He has, like, I think no arms and no legs. And he is one of the most incredible, inspirational people in the world. And when I am feeling down, I throw on one of his videos, and by the end of the video, I look at myself and realize, what the fuck am I complaining about? I am so lucky. And all these things that I'm complaining about, and all these desires that I have that I are letting affect me, do not matter at all. And I don't know. I hope you guys are seeing where I'm coming from with this video, but it's just a very important realization that I feel like has changed my entire life, and I will carry it with me forever. And I just wanted to put it on video, get it out there as a reminder, even to myself, next time I'm feeling one of those, in one of those funks, to practice gratitude every single day. Treat your body right, eat healthy, work out, read 10 pages a day, do the necessary things to feel better, and then feeling better will come later. I did a podcast a couple years ago with Mike Diamond, great guy, and he said that he doesn't wait until he feels good to do the work. He does the work in order to feel good. And that is one of the best ways to say it ever. You're never going to feel good. You're never going to wake up in the morning and want to work out. Maybe occasionally you will, but for the most part, you're never going to want to do it. It's about forcing yourself to do it because you know that right after it, you're going to feel amazing. And you know that if you don't do it and you stay in bed, for example, and get up and you never did it, you're going to feel like shit and you're going to regret it. But you will never regret getting up and going and getting it done. So I just wanted to put this out there. If you are going through some sort of negative thinking and you're constantly feeding yourself that negativity loop, do some things, make a plan for the next 14 days, give yourself a challenge of reading every single day, working out every single day, eating healthy, watching positive podcasts, just feeding yourself as much positivity as possible, and then see how you feel in 14 days. Like I said, you're not going to want to do the shit. You're not going to want to work out. You're not going to want to eat healthy. You're not going to want to read 10 pages. You're not going to want to listen to the podcast. But force yourself to do it for a certain period of time and then see how you feel after that period of time and see if you still don't want to do it next time you're feeling in a funk. So with that said, I hope you got something out of this video. I know I just rambled for a long time, but it's something that's super clear to me I wanted to put out there. So love you guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Please subscribe, follow, leave a review, do the deeds. I really appreciate it. And I will see you in the next one. Have a great day.